All right, so we have a new spring football league. For years and years, I've talked about this, is that as a sportscaster, there's been a lot of attempts at new leagues. The UFC, there was a lot of doubters when the UFC came out. I used to work at another sports company. And 15 years ago, I went to that sports company and I said, there's this thing called UFC. My buddies in LA and Vegas love it. And all you guys who sit and watch Boston Red Sox games in Connecticut, you better embrace this thing because people love it. And now 15 years later, you look at the UFC and you think, oh, it's been around forever. They had a real fight on their hands. They got thrown off cable for a while. So very rarely do we introduce something, because we all have our habits, right, in our teams. But I have been on this now. I've been telling people this when the MLS came up. I've tried to invest in it twice. And I said, the MLS, I grew up with the NASL. A soccer league, as we get better in soccer, is going to work. Well, now we look at the MLS. It's been around and doing very, very well. There are academies. The stadiums are packed. So the two things very early, I'm like, those are new and they're going to work. The third one has always been spring football. I'm like, spring football is going to work in America. How do I know that? Because the minute the NFL ends for about 10 weeks, there's a massive gap for sportscasters. We're dying for stuff to talk about. And so the XFL got created, remember that, with Vince McMahon and Fox and everything, and it was getting 2 million viewers or close to it per game. It was crushing hockey and beating NBA and beating some regular season baseball. And then COVID hit, and that unraveled a lot of new businesses. So now spring football is back. The new USFL, this is a league, an independent football league, that's going to be controlled by Fox Sports. Now, it's going to use NFL rules, okay? Tweak them, but NFL rules focusing on young talent. They just named Mike Pereira the head of officiating. They just named Daryl Moose Johnson, the Cowboys, 3 rings, director of football operations. So we have grown-ups running this league. It's well capitalized. And today we're going to announce the 2 divisions and the 8 teams in the new USFL. So let's start, Joy, with the Northern Division. All right, in the Northern Division, there's the Michigan Panthers. I know people love uniforms and logos, so I have not seen any of these. Next up, this is a familiar name, the New Jersey Generals. I think we had a former president that was part of that. The next one is the Philadelphia Stars. And then rounding out the Northern Division, the Pittsburgh Maulers.
Yay!
There you go. So that is the Northern Division of the new USFL, a day's spring football league. So NFL ends a week later. You got 8 to 10 weeks.
10-game schedule.
10-game schedule of professional football. Going to focus on a lot of young players, just like the XFL did before COVID hit. So now let's go to the Southern Division. So the Birmingham Stallions, the Houston Gamblers, the New Orleans Breakers, and the Tampa Bay Bandits. Some of these names may be familiar to you. And this is a kind of a fun, high-quality, very young players. NFL rules mostly. Mike Pereira now the head of officiating. And I've told you this before. When UFC came, I said, it's going to work. I have too many friends that are into it. And boxing opened the door because it wasn't terribly well run at the time. And the MLS, I knew it was going to work because I was watching World Cup ratings, especially when the U.S. played. And I strongly believe spring football is going to work in America. There's 2 other reasons. Gambling now is legal. And by the time we're playing these football games in February, we may have 25 states legal gambling. Yeah. We like gambling on our football. Secondarily, football works in America. College football gets a number. NFL gets a number. Some FCS stuff gets a number. There you go.
Well, I'm very excited about it. I might be biased, but I think the Pittsburgh Maulers is the best logo. And, yeah, this is awesome. And I say all the time, like any sports, live sports that you can put on television, it's the last thing that you watch live on TV. Everything else is pre-recorded. You have to be in front of your television. You got to watch it live, so it works. And it gives more opportunities and more jobs, and I'm all for that. So all the 8 teams are going to play in one host city in 2022, and they'll each play a 10-game schedule, and then they'll have semifinals between the top 2 teams in the division, and then a championship game between the division winners. And the game's going to be played on Saturdays and Sundays.
Well, I mean, just think of the talent in the NFL. Did you watch Austin Eckler last night? Go look where he went to college. The best defensive back in the sport in the NFL right now, maybe C.J. Jackson, undrafted.
Well, P.J. Walker's been a great story for the XFL. There's a lot of talent out there. A lot of the league is undrafted. So you're going to have high-quality players, run well, and more football, which we all love.
Remember the G League came out, and a lot of people rolled their eyes at the G League, and I think Birdman was the first G League call-up. I forget, he may have been to Miami. I forget where it was. Well, now, regularly in the NBA, in the middle of a season, you'll get multiple G League guys called up, and now it's a 6-figure job. Like it used to be called the D League, and then Gatorade sponsored it, and they call it the G League. Well, now it's a fundamentally strong option for kids that don't want to go to college. So the world's expanding. We got more great athletes, spring football, the USFL, new independent league. Hour 3 next. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.